Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Gemma, and joining me again this week, I have my excellent friend, Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hello, hi everybody, and happy Independence Day to those of us stuck in America.
Yes, indeed. I hope everyone had a wonderful time, a weekend. Would you call it a long weekend? Do you get a
Yep,
holiday for
long
that?
weekend. Yep,
Yeah,
all
well, that's
Friday.
nice.
Most of us, I
Nice.
think.
Well, that's good. Good that it came on a Friday at least, right? That's
Yeah,
good
it
time.
makes it easy.
Yes. Thank you for joining me again this week. We have a lot to talk about, lots of interesting news, lots of Mario-related goodness. We've had the Bandai Namco Showcase, a new game announced, and as well as the games we're playing, of course. So let's jump straight into it and head on into the Bandai Namco Showcase. Now, I was really looking forward to this because I was hoping for some exciting Switch 2 related news, like, I don't know, Tekken 8 or something confirmed for Switch 2. Not that I even have ever played Tekken, I don't think, but just it would be a good thing for Nintendo for the Switch 2 to have a big title like that come into it. That didn't happen. But there were a couple little tidbits of news and games announced for the Switch 2. For example, we have Little Nightmares 3, which is coming to the Switch and the Switch 2 on October the 10th. And this is also coming to other consoles, I believe, at the same time, which is pretty exciting. So that's a nice coup for Nintendo to have that on its system. Little Nightmares, the original, was released, I believe, a year later on the Nintendo Switch. It was 2017 for other consoles, and then it came to the Switch in 2018. So yeah, nice to see this one coming simultaneously. I myself have not played Little Nightmares, though, to be honest. Have you, Kirk?
No, I haven't. I've known of it,
Hmm.
and when I saw the announcement, I guess I mean I wasn't surprised. Usually if you
Mhm.
get a first game and a second game, there's going to be a third, and it looks good. But yeah,
Mhm.
I've never played it. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And so the next thing might be for us then, because we haven't played the first one, which, as I said, has been released on the Switch in the past. What they've announced is Little Nightmares Enhanced Edition for Switch 2. So this is coming out. Did I write down the date for this? No, maybe not. Sorry. I don't know when this one's coming out. But it is the original game enhanced with upgraded graphics and quality of life improvements as well. It's not upgradable from the original Switch version, unfortunately, due to some technical reasons, is what Bandai Namco has stated. But it's perfect for players like you and I, Kirk, who have never played it potentially, because then we can experience it in a
Yeah,
pretty cool way. Mm.
I would like some clarification
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
what the technical issues are
Yeah.
that
Yes.
prevent them from just upgrading it for Switch 2, considering so many other games have been.
Mm.
You could buy a Switch game of I'm trying to think of like what's the one I'm playing? Guardians of Azuma, the
Mhm.
Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, and just download an update. So what is preventing them from making an update available that you could pay extra for and download them? I'm
Yeah.
wondering.
I
Unless I suppose it's not just an update though. If it's an enhanced edition, it may be a completely different setup. I suppose
Mm.
from the original. In which case it makes more sense. So maybe I'm being unfair.
It could be, considering it is an older game. I mean, not that that should. Yeah, it really depends, doesn't it? Because if they've revamped it in a specific way using certain code or whatever, perhaps it can't, for whatever reason, talk to the original. It's changed too much. I don't know. Um, yeah, I was thinking if it's because of the age of the game, like being a 2018 Switch game,
Hmm.
that's 7 years old. It's getting long in the tooth. Maybe things have changed so much since then that it's too difficult, or they've changed so much in this enhanced edition that it's yeah, vastly different and not able to just patch it. Maybe it's too big. Maybe the download is too big, or maybe because I know there's a patch limit with Switch games. I can't remember what that is, but it's not very big. So when it comes to DLC, so yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
and they are releasing it too for other systems. The enhanced edition's coming out for PS5 and Xbox Series XS. So
True.
yeah, it's to them it's a whole new game that they're putting out there. It's a better version of it, as opposed to just we're upgrading it for 60 FPS and 4K like a lot of the updates are. So I withdraw my comment. I understand. I think why they're doing it this way. I do
Yeah.
see the one other unfortunate thing, but again, also understandable is if you did play the original version on the Switch and didn't finish it, you're going to have to start over again with this one. You can't transfer saves.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's a good point. And it looks like this one comes out at the same time, excuse me, as Little Nightmares 3. So it comes out on October the 10th as well. So they're releasing both at once, which is kind of cool. But also, are people going to buy 2 games? I don't know. It seems like a lot, but anyway.
Yeah, and I wonder if you're into it, you get Little Nightmares Complete Edition, and then you go up to 3 on the Switch too. But
Mm.
what about 2? What are they doing with 2?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe a bundle would have been nice for the original. So you've got
Yeah,
all 3 then. I don't know. Lots of questions. Um, if listeners are familiar with the series and like the series, let us know. We'd love to know your thoughts on Little Nightmares. I don't know why I've never played it because yeah, it always has had good reviews. I just never got around to it, I guess. So yeah, this will keep me interested and curious, and we'll see what happens come October, which sounds like a long time away, but it's only 3 months really, so it'll come soon enough.
yeah.
Mm,
It definitely has a very creepy vibe to it. I mean, it's
it
creepy
does.
lighting and the designs. I'm looking at screen captures,
Mm.
and it definitely. I've seen this kind of approach to visuals in like just straight up horror games quite often. There are arms reaching out to grab. There are big empty areas where you're kind of precariously balanced on. It looks like there's a bed kind of hanging from the ceiling that you're jumping around on. It could be a pretty scary game, I think. But you put the word little in front of it, and it sounds like it's a scary game for kids. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to see just how scary it could be as a platformer. I'm intrigued by the whole thing. So yeah, I think I would really like to check this out. May not wait. Maybe
Mhm.
I'll just try out the bundle of 1 and 2, and then skip the enhanced edition and go to 3 when it's released in October.
Yeah. I mean, it's rated T for teens, so there is some blood and violence, so that helps you get an idea of what kind of horror you're looking at. Even the little protagonist with the little hood and little raincoat looks cute, but obviously trapped in some kind of, I don't know, fearsome world of some sort. But yeah,
Right.
it does look intriguing. And even the graphical style, because it has that almost a realistic style to it. It's sort of 3D models by the look of it. And yeah, has that depth to it, being a platformer. So yeah, interesting. Well, if you do get it, let us know, Kirk, and tell us what you
Yeah.
think. Yeah. The other kind of interesting announcement, well, it's not really an announcement, is it? I guess. It's a game we knew was coming. It's Shadow Labyrinth, which is this
Yes.
take on Pac-Man, I suppose, which we've kind of mentioned a few times over the last, I don't know, 6 months or so because I think it was in one of the Nintendo Directs at some point. And it looks really interesting. It's a very different style for what you might think of as a Pac-Man game. It's not a Pac-Man game. It's just a game featuring a giant Pac-Man like, I don't know, monster. I don't know.
Well, there's like a little Pac-Man dude floating around behind the
Oh
protagonist, right?
yeah, the helper.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it sort of can become gigantic at some point. I think is that right? In the trailer, doesn't it become huge and like chomp on something? I don't
I think, yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So this one comes out on July 18th, which is very soon, actually. But the news was that so it's a Switch game, obviously, because that was in a Switch Direct from months and months ago.
Mhm.
But there's the news is that there's a free Switch 2 upgrade, which is really neat. And that's going to give you 4K visual, 60 frames per second, and some quality of life improvements as well. So that's really cool, and I love that. That is free. I mean, we've had so much variance in these upgrades from free, like the Nintendo ones, like Mario Wonder, for example, to the Tears of the Kingdom style ones, which are kind of like a $20 upgrade. Is it $10 or $20 actually in the US? I think it's $10 in the US, $20 in Australia. And then you've got your $2 upgrades for things like Fantasy Life I, and then some are just free like this, which is really neat. And considering it's a new game, I would expect the Switch 2 version to look quite good, overall, because it's been developed almost with that in mind from the beginning, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
You looking forward to
Yeah.
that one?
Oh, I am.
Mm.
I mean, you keep in mind, I grew up. I was in the arcades when Pac-Man hit. In fact, here's an embarrassing fact. Well, maybe not. Maybe it's kind of cool. I own the album, Buckner and Garcia's Pac-Man Fever.
What is
It's a
that?
song. It was a song that was released in the U.S. Well,
Mm.
worldwide, I'm sure, in 1982. I think maybe 1983. I think it was 82. Um, it was like a top 100 hit for the year. I just looked that up because we
Oh,
were doing
wow.
something with the kids. Yeah, it was like the number 42 song for the year.
Really?
But there was a whole album with songs about Donkey Kong and Frogger and like when I was a kid, it was the greatest thing ever. I listened to it now and I'm like, wow. You know, but yeah, so I have that album. I think I was a bigger fan of the album than I was of the game itself.
So is that
Um,
like a record? You have a record
oh
of
yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an LP. Yeah, I still have. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Well, if you wanna take a photo of that and send it to me, I'll put it into the video. If you
I would
like,
be
if
happy to do so. Sure.
yes, okay. I've never even heard of that, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so cheesy, so cheesy, but fun.
So who's
But
the artist then?
the band is called Buckner and Garcia.
Oh, right, okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah,
Did they
just two dudes
two
made an
dudes?
album, a video, and all the songs incorporate music from the game, so it's a goofy listen.
Cool, okay.
Yeah,
Very
and I still
80s.
own it.
Yeah. Love it. That would probably be worth something,
No.
honestly.
But I don't know how I got onto that. I was oh, so I played these games in the arcades. Obviously, I was
Yes.
into it, and I've seen a lot of times, and I think I mentioned this before, that they upgrade them, update them to try to give them modern gameplay, and they don't
Mm.
tinker with it enough, so it just ends up not working. Like it loses its simple charm,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
a little too muddy with what they did to actually be fun. This one looks like they're just blowing it completely out of proportion, um,
Yes.
going wild with it, and I really applaud that decision.
Mm.
I've seen the trailers for this, and I'm just completely enthralled by it. I don't know if it's going to work. It looks like it will,
Mm.
but I still, even after all the trailers and everything I've seen, I don't exactly know how Pac-Man's incorporated. I mean, a little bit. We do see some movement, um, and usage of it. Otherwise, it just looks like a basic platformer. So
Mm.
I want to see how they incorporate the traditional Pac-Man gameplay across the whole game, as opposed to like just little snippets we've had, to see if they're able to make that work.
Yeah, that's true. They could incorporate, um what was the game I played last year? So I shouldn't remember this. It was an old Atari game, and they completely changed it. It was a platformer,
Oh, was it
Metroidvania style.
Yar's Revenge?
Yes, and yeah, it was really good because what they did was you had to hack into computer systems, and that element was the old Yars' Revenge
Yeah,
style. So
yeah,
if they could incorporate it somehow like that, I think that would work really well. Yeah. But for the main style, because it looks like a platformer or even maybe a Metroidvania with the map style of thing, I don't know.
yeah. That's what I
Mm.
was thinking.
Mm. It looks really cool. And yeah, just like you, yes, I love that they've completely blown it out of the water, and they're doing something very, very different and hopefully fun. So yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
soon enough,
yeah. The
on July.
visuals I think look striking.
They do.
Um,
Mm. Yes.
And there is, I checked the DLC. There's only one thing available for $1.99. You can get original arcade sound effects in the game.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, I'll be doing that.
Yes, definitely. I wonder if they'll incorporate any of that Pac-Man Fever album somehow. That would
They
be
should. They
hilarious. Yeah.
really should.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Anything else with the Bandai? I can't even say it. I'm sorry. Bandai Namco Showcase
Yeah.
that caught your eye?
Two, there are two things I think I still want to mention about Shadow
Sure. Oh
Labyrinth.
yeah,
First
go
of
for it.
all, and
Of
we've
course.
known this, but the game is only $30, which is a great price for a Switch 2 game.
That's true. Mhm.
Um, so I'm happy about that. But also, if you get the Switch version, they mentioned that it's a free upgrade to the Switch 2. Am I right?
Yes. Mhm. Yeah.
So you can get it that way on the card.
Of course. So the Switch 2 version, yeah, there's not really a Switch 2 version per se, is it? It's a Switch version
They
with
do have
the
they
upgrade?
have a Switch 2 version listed in the Nintendo eShop.
Oh, okay. But that would probably be not on a card. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I
Mm.
don't know if they're selling a physical version of the Switch 2, but, are are they selling a physical version of the Switch version?
I don't know, actually.
I'm gonna look that up real quickly. I should have done that. It didn't occur to me till just now.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but $30 is a very good price point. That is very true. I love that. Makes it much more affordable and, gives players lots of variety when it comes to what to play next because we've had our first round of Switch 2 games. We've got more coming in the form of Donkey Kong Bonanza, of course, and, Mario Party Jamboree. In third-party games now, we're looking at, I guess, what's on the horizon and you know, what's next really, and they're gonna be a bit more sporadic. And is this really the first well, it's not is it made for Switch 2, I guess? I was gonna say, is this the first Switch 2 game? But it counts, I think it counts. So is this the first one we've had since the original launch lineup that's like a Switch 2 game that's not first party, do you think?
I don't know.
Because it's not been a lot. Every week we have the list of releases, and there's not a Switch 2 list, it's just Switch 1. And there's some
Yeah.
pre-orders for things, but mostly it's Switch 1. And of course, most of them are playable on Switch 2, so that's not a problem. But seeing dedicated Switch 2 games is not yet a big thing. But did you manage to find out the answer to that question about the physical version?
Yes, in fact, I have even better news.
Ooh.
Well, I'm at Best Buy's site only. I didn't look elsewhere. Best Buy is selling a physical edition of the Switch version.
Mhm.
So, yeah, go ahead and do that and then get your free upgrade. Or there is the Shadow Labyrinth Secret Edition for
Ooh.
$60 that's
What?
available. Yeah. And this one comes with digital bonuses. You can get the original arcade sound effects. It's a $1.99 download if you don't get this, so that's not a big deal.
Mm,
Digital art book and digital soundtrack. There is a double-sided map poster that comes with it.
cool.
There are enamel pins, glow-in-the-dark stickers, incandescent stickers, and a blacklight keychain.
Wow. That's pretty neat, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a booklet case. So yeah, if you're buying the Switch version specifically because you want a box on a shelf, you're getting an even better looking box.
Yeah. I don't see that in Australia. I'm looking at EB Games. They definitely do have the physical version of it. The standard edition? I'm not seeing the special edition over here. Maybe it's just not listed yet, but that sounds amazing. Or maybe it's not coming to Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could be, or maybe it's a Best Buy exclusive.
Could be, could be.
Look that up.
If you do pre-order at EB Games, it does get the pre-order bonus of the original arcade sound FX. So,
Okay,
yeah, that DLC comes for free if you pre-order it, and it does have the Switch 2 free upgrade. It mentions here that it will download the Switch 2 version to be played like a game key card. So, it's a physical version on the Switch, but obviously it's downloading something for Switch 2, if that makes sense.
okay, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and I do see both packages, the standard game and the secret edition, are both available at GameStop as well. So yeah, maybe it's just a US thing, or
Yeah.
maybe it'll eventually show up in Australia.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully. Hopefully this is a game worth our attention now that we've talked about it so much because it does look cool, but yeah, we'll find out when it releases. Did you have anything else to add to that?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on things come July 18th. Well, let's move on to some Mario news. A few little pieces of information here. First of all, Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe music was added to Nintendo Music last week. I happen to love this game. It's in my top 4 or 5 most played games on the Switch. So, a game I played a lot of over the years. And so I love the soundtrack, and so I did listen to it. I didn't play Street Fighter while I listened to it this week. You'll be disappointed to hear. I just listened to it. I didn't even know what I was doing. I think I was writing an article for our magazine while I listened to it actually. So there you go. That's another use for the Nintendo Music app.
Yeah, it's good. It keeps you in the right frame of mind while you're writing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too.
I better
Uh,
hurry up and download it.
yes, yes, do it. Inspiration. But it is a really good soundtrack. It's a really great game. So yeah, I'm very familiar with all the tunes. So for me, it was quite nice to have in the background. Some other Mario-related news. We have been well, I say we, but I guess the internet was kind of speculating over who was the official, I guess, developer of upcoming Donkey Kong Bonanza game, and a lot of people thought it was the Mario Odyssey team, just because it looks very much like in that vein of that style. We don't have a 3D Mario game at this point in time, so that was the speculation, and it has been revealed to be the case. So it is the team behind Mario Odyssey is who has created this upcoming Donkey Kong outing, which is pretty neat, and that I think gives it not that it needed it because everyone's pretty enamored with what this game looks like. I think everyone's pretty excited for it, but it does give it that a bit more credit or whatever, it gives it a bit more it makes it
Credibility.
credibility, that's the word, thank you. Yes. So that's really cool, and I think it's really good to know that people I mean, I don't know that it really makes a difference to me that much, but some people really, really like to know who is behind it, and it is good to recognize, obviously, the team and the developers and the people who actually created it, so, we can give them the kudos when the game's released, and if we love it, then we can say, "Thank you, great job." So, yeah, I'm not sure why they revealed it at this point in time, but it's out there now, so yay.
Yeah. And I think that also helps to explain why we didn't get a Mario Odyssey game at launch. That
Yes,
that team was
definitely.
busy on something else. So yeah, if you were hoping for it, now you know why, and you can get Donkey Kong Bonanza because it's going to be your kind of game for the most part.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it does look like it has, parallels, like, it's not gonna be the same game at all because it's quite different and the mechanics are very different, but similar-ish look to it, I suppose, and maybe the feel of it, the environments
Yeah.
and the way the world works, which is a good thing, so and that means that the team will probably be moving on to something more Mario related after that, I'm guessing, which could
Yeah.
give us an idea that perhaps a Mario game is a couple of years away. Um, yeah, they most likely would have already started something. I don't think it's like Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out and then the next day they start working on Mario.
Yeah,
Even though
I'm
they
sure.
yeah. Even though they're probably still tinkering with little fixes or whatever before the release, I'm guessing the final would have to be, weeks, if not months before the release. They're gonna have to print the cartridges and whatever. So the final code has to be, you know, almost done by this point, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's been done. And if nothing else, the team's been split up. So some are working on fixes
Yeah.
and enhancements to Bonanza, and the rest are moving forward.
Exactly. Which camp would you prefer to be on if you were in that group? Because you might be like, "Oh, I wanna stick with Donkey Kong because it's my passion," but then, "Oh, no, I would like to be involved with the creative side of the new Mario game." Like, that'd be a tough choice.
I think I would want to be the guy who moves on. I
Mhm.
want something to just be done.
Yeah, okay. Yes.
I don't like going back and tinkering on things. So
Right.
yeah, ever onward.
Yeah, everyone would. Okay, good to know. I love that. I love the decisiveness. I think I do like to keep things, I do have a little bit of a coding background, so I definitely get bug fixes and, making things work and tinkering with things. Even as a writer, if with pure Nintendo, I read over my reviews so many times, it's like eventually you just have to, like, deal with it and, like, send it for, for proofing. It's like, "Okay, it's not gonna get that much better. Just let it go." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, because you could obsess forever. I could, my reviews, especially the longer ones.
Mhm, mhm.
I could look at them and just adjust all day long.
Yeah,
But
yes,
I'm like, you know
exactly.
what? Just get it out there. I got other games I got to move on
Yeah,
to.
that's it. Exactly right, yeah. And then they also revealed the team behind the switch to Welcome Tour, which is interesting. And I don't know why this wasn't revealed earlier since the game has been out over a month now. But it was the team behind Mario Party, including Mario Party Jamboree, which is kind of cool and kind of makes sense in a way because Welcome Tour does have mini games. It has a really kind of cute little feel to it. So I'm not super surprised by that. But it doesn't have it in the credits, it doesn't list that. So, like I said, it doesn't fully reveal who was behind it, which is interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. But I also don't know anyone who's played that game except me, so but that's because I'm reviewing it.
And you liked it. You were big
Yeah.
on it, as I recall. So that, I mean, that makes sense to me now. And it's also
Mhm.
good. Like when I first saw it, it's like, well, we got some new employees or some interns. Let's, let them come up with something fun. And in a way, I was
Mhm.
kind of hoping that's what it was. It was like, do whatever you want. We'll see what we can do with it. And then Nintendo decided it was so great that they were going to charge for it
Yeah.
instead of put it on the system. So I like that bit of
Mm.
lore that I created that is now horribly inaccurate. Um,
Yes.
but I think, yeah, I'm equally pleased that people who are working on a game are able to do other things and kind of branch out, and so they keep people engaged um, at Nintendo. So that's a good setup that pleases me.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. That's a really good point. And I would, I don't know, people have their opinions and that's fine. If you wanna support this game or Nintendo, it's worth the $10, but, some people are boycotting it because they think it should be a pack-in, and I get that. It's one of those very tough questions because it does seem like an obvious title to pack in with the Switch 2.
Yeah,
But yeah, there is plenty of content, that's for sure, and it is really fun, so I definitely recommend it, but, yeah,
yeah.
it's up to
I
up
would
to you.
because I'm one of the people obviously who had no interest in buying it, but yeah, I
Mm.
mean boycotting it is a really strong word
Yeah,
for
yes,
a
yeah.
game. Like I get if you don't want it, and you don't buy it.
Mm.
That's fine. We all do that with almost every game that's released, technically. But,
Yeah.
boycotting to, like, protest and make some kinda statement, like, take it easy,
Yes.
man, just buy something else, it's
Yeah,
okay.
that's it, exactly. Yes, I agree. But it is what it is. And anything else to add to those 2 little team pieces of info from your
Nope, except
perspective?
that I'm really looking forward to when the, Jamboree Switch 2 content comes out. So,
Yes, and that
we'll be
is this
talking
month.
about yeah,
Mhm.
we'll be talking more about this dev team here pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward to seeing what they've come up with Mario Party Jamboree when the Jamboree TV comes out later this month. Now, this next piece of news, I can never remember which type of wrestling you like, Kirk, so I'm sorry. Is it this one? So
No,
no,
no, it's
okay.
not.
Dang it. Yeah, so there was an announcement during the week for WWE 2K25 for Switch 2, which is heading our way pretty soon, actually, also this month on July the 23rd. So even though it's not the style of wrestling you enjoy, is this an exciting announcement for you?
Yeah, well, I to clarify, it's the style of wrestling I enjoy. It's
Mhm.
professional wrestling,
Right.
and when I was younger, I loved the WWF and the WW, which became the WWE.
Mhm.
But eventually grew tired of it, lost interest in wrestling, and then got into New Japan, which led to AEW, and I've been an AEW fan ever since. So I'm not disparaging one or the other. Wrestling fans can be crazy homers, and I get it. But yeah, if you are a WWE fan, then yeah, it's the last as I think you just mentioned was 2018 um,
Mm, mhm.
on Nintendo. So in
Yeah.
fact, Max got into it really big at one time, and we picked up one of the games. I can't remember which one for the PS3, which we had used at the time, and he
Mhm.
would play that and just scream forever because that was his exposure to learning that video games, especially combat games, are hard.
Yes, yes, exactly, yeah. No, it is pretty big. It's a big release for the Switch, or for the Switch 2, I should say, sorry, for Nintendo, because it has been a long time since we've had
Mhm.
such an entry, and the previous one, the 2018 version, was not well received at all. Apparently it had quite a lot of technical issues, so it did not perform very well, and I guess that's why they haven't released one since then, but it's good to see that they have come back to Nintendo now that we have a Switch 2, which is more powerful and able to handle whatever graphics you need for a wrestling game. I guess it's
Yeah.
pretty intense, like, it's fairly very kind of 3D modeling, isn't it, right, with this game?
Yeah, and you know what? It's not a whole lot different because 2K, they also make sports games, obviously, and the sports games, whether it's Madden or basketball or WWE, they try or they do release a new game every year, and aside from a couple tweaks and new game features, the only thing that they can really do to sell it is just make it look better.
Mhm.
So there
Mhm.
came a point with Nintendo hardware where they weren't able to do that, and that's why they quit releasing all these games on Nintendo devices, is because the technology that they were developing for, the graphics they were pushing for, was leaving Nintendo behind. So they
Mhm.
left Nintendo behind along with it. The Switch 2, now we get this. We're going to get Madden. This year will be coming back. So I hope that it's good. I hope that the technical issues are gone,
Mm.
because I imagine there are a lot of fans of these games who either had to buy another system or have just been waiting patiently forever every year, hoping that somehow a new game was going to come out. It looks like they are. So let's hope they nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really good point. And from the comments that I saw, there's a new trailer that goes with this as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the trailer while we're talking. But the the trailer, sorry, the comments in the trailer all looked quite positive to me. So from it seems that fans are excited about this, which is great. People have been waiting for it, like you said, and this hopefully fixes those issues that were there. I don't see why it wouldn't, but yeah, you never know. But no, it should be very playable and hopefully a lot of fun. And yeah, as you mentioned, Madden, I think it comes out in August actually, so that's not too far away either. So it's nice to see games like this return to Nintendo because they haven't been there for a while. I don't know when the last Madden game was. I don't think there was any on the Switch, were there? Were there Madden on the Switch?
Not on the Switch. Boy, did we have to
Yeah.
go all the way back to the Wii for the last Madden game? I don't think there
Oh,
was one for the Wii U.
yeah, maybe not. Not sure. But yeah, it's definitely been a long
Yeah, I
time.
don't.
So and these are series that have been, they've been running since gosh, when was Madden? That was in the '90s, wasn't it? I'm
Oh
sure there
yeah,
was a
yeah,
Super Nintendo version, I think, at the time. That might have been the last time I played a Madden game.
yeah.
And I'm not against it at all. I actually, quite enjoyed it, but I'm not a huge sports gamer, but, it definitely has its place, and I really appreciate that it's got its fans and that I love having it available on as many systems as possible. I think that's a good thing. So, yeah.
And the thing that bothers me most about all these two is the licensing. Drives
Mhm.
me crazy because EA owns the license for the NFL. They own the
Mhm.
NCAA. So if you're a fan of football, but you're not a PlayStation gamer, an Xbox gamer, PC, you're a Nintendo guy like I am. You
Mhm.
don't get it because the only game that they can release with the NFL license with the teams and the players you love is Madden.
Right.
And
Mhm.
it drives me insane because there are so many ways that you can make a sports game great
Mhm.
without making it a system hog. Um, we because I used to play these games back in the Intellivision days, and they were a lot of fun. I mean, baseball for crying out loud was glorious back then.
Mm.
And then curiously, Nintendo owned the license for the for. I think they owned the NFL license. They had it
Oh, there you go.
briefly.
Yeah?
Um, but yeah, I mean, there are just so many things you could do, and because there's only one company that owns the license, they're only going to make that one game, and that's it. So if
Mm.
you don't get into that particular game, you're done. As a huge Seahawks fan or a Minnesota Wild fan, I would buy up almost anything if they were able to just release different versions that worked on these systems, whether they're more arcade like or the graphics are toned back or whatever.
Mm.
And they can't. So it drives me nuts that EA and 2K have monopolized these
Yeah.
licenses.
That
And I'm off my soapbox now.
yeah. No, but that's an excellent point, and it seems like a monopoly, which is not a good thing. So there you go. Yeah,
Yeah. And I'm
definitely
not going to buy Madden when it comes
for that
that
reason. Yeah.
well, yeah, I mean, it could be a great game, my kids play it and they love it, but,
Mm.
that's not, the type of sport game that I get into. I like a little more arcadey action instead of the, strategy and too many buttons.
Yes, yes. Although maybe the mouse controls would help, I don't know.
Sure. Oh,
Maybe.
like they released, was it Madden for the Wii? There was you could actually use the Wiimote, like when
Oh.
you were throwing the football, you moved it in a football motion,
Oh,
and nobody
wow.
did it because oh yeah, it's hard. They don't
Yeah.
aside from inaccuracy, standing up and doing that. I mean,
Like, as
quarterbacks have to work out a lot in order to
yeah.
be able to get up and move around and get
Oh,
that kind of
wow.
motion
So
repeatedly.
you're doing you're actually standing up and throwing it as if you're Joe
Well,
Montana.
you could sit and throw, but still, if your arm's not used to making that motion that often, you're gonna get tired quickly. The same with all those sword fighting games.
Yes.
They don't wanna do that. They just, my
Yeah.
fingers and my wrist, that's all I need.
Yes, exactly. I love that. It's surprising that it hasn't tried to come to the Switch because I think it was FC, the soccer football games.
Mhm.
Um, I reviewed one, I don't think it was last year's one, it was the year before potentially, maybe 23, and that was really good, like, for the Switch, it looked amazing. I was super surprised, how it was a huge download, I remember that,
Yeah.
but it was really smooth and the videos looked really good. I was genuinely impressed with that. So, I don't know
And
why they could do that for soccer, but not for football. I'm not sure what the
and they do it
difference
for
is.
basketball too. The basketball games have the
Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know why. But anyway, either way, it looks like it's returning after all these years to the Switch 2. So, wrestling and football, yeah. More the merrier, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't mean, I guess, the Switch player, like people who don't have a Switch 2, who are still Switch players, won't be able to enjoy those yet. So
Yeah.
sadly. Mm. Interesting. Very interesting. Anything else to add to that little sports discussion?
Uh, I'm trying to think of other sports I would like to see.
Well, do they have any
In
hockey games? Ice hockey?
Not for the Switch. Oh, there are some, not
Mm.
NHL games, but, yeah, I played a couple of hockey games, various, arcade style hockey games on the Switch and reviewed. I'd have to look them up. There was it was kinda like a bush league hockey game, like, it took place in, like, barns and stuff. It was the gameplay wasn't as good as I'd hoped, but the whole premise behind it was, like, so, like, seedy '70s backyard, not even backyard, bush league hockey.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Interesting.
cool. I'm gonna have to go back and revisit that now.
I love that. That's kind of cool. They do a 2K NHL on other platforms, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I wonder if that will ever make its way to the Switch 2 then. Maybe. No
Yeah,
announcements as of yet.
I think the problem with that is hockey's kind of not as pop well, I shouldn't say kind of, it's one of the less popular sports, team sports, for the big ones, so I don't know that
Mm,
there's as big of an audience for it as even, say, soccer or, you know, for everyone outside the US, football.
right, yes, okay, fair enough. Yeah, we'll see. Because the latest release was October last year, that was NHL 25. So you would think if anything was happening, it would be happening now for this October. So,
Mm.
yeah, no news as of yet. Maybe it isn't big enough. So you're thinking that's just more of a US-based fan base then for NHL?
For
For
hockey?
NHL, yeah.
Well, Canada and Europe, it's just,
Oh, yeah,
yeah, worldwide. In the US, it's, maybe the 4th, 5th most popular sport. It
right.
doesn't sell as well here, which makes me sad.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that.
I mean, it's not because is there any hockey in Australia?
Very little.
Okay.
I know there is a rink because I've taken my kids to go ice skating because there are a few skating rinks around, not many. It doesn't snow here, so we never get natural, you know, the chance to naturally ice skate. But yes, there are ice skating rinks, and when we were there last, which was probably a year or two ago, when it closed, we saw all these players come out to practice their hockey game, so
Mm,
or play a hockey game. I don't know if they're practicing or playing. But yeah, they definitely have teams, they definitely play. I don't know how big it is, but it does exist. So, yeah,
right.
that's cool.
There won't be an Australian team in the Olympics in a couple of years. What, 2026? Is that when we have another?
I don't know. Maybe they have a
Is it?
bobsled team, so they might have a team. I don't know. I'm not sure. I
Oh,
wouldn't wanna say no in case some passionate listener gets irate that I'm wrong about that, but
yeah.
it's not my area of expertise, unfortunately. But I wouldn't be
Well,
surprised. Mm.
if he's a passionate hockey fan, then he'll just be happy we're talking about
Yeah,
hockey.
true,
That's the way we are.
true. Nice.
Any exposure we could get is good.
I dare say we would have a team only because, yeah, we have random teams like a bobsled team and other cool teams that do okay, I think. So, not that we're yeah. It's hard for us to practice those kinds of sports here. Like I was just watching, this is very off topic, but in terms of bobsledding, there was an interview just recently on a game show with a bobsled person from Australia, a female, and she's awesome. And they were showing how they practice out in the outback when they can't get to the ice. And it's like, it's so funny. They have a very similar bobsled made of like wood or whatever, and they're using wheels or whatever and just going for it in the dirt, like just to practice. Because it's about the run up and the pushing of the thing to get the speed. So they do it somehow. They practice, they do what they can. Yep.
Cool. All right.
So,
Well, I'll be rooting for them now.
oh,
They,
thanks.
they've got my support.
Thanks. I love that. Me too. All right. Well, let's move on to the final piece of news before we head to the games we're playing. And this is potentially a controversial one. This is a Mario Kart World update. So there's been a couple of patches. The last one was version 1.1.2, I believe it was. And it fixed a few bugs, which is great. I think there was something with a bullet bill hitting a wall or something. There's a few little bugs that they've patched, which is awesome. But then the thing everyone's been talking about and getting a bit antsy about is um, in verse race, online mode, versus race, it's lowered the chance of getting what they call 3-lap races when you select random. And I just have struggled to get my head around what on earth this means because I didn't even really think about it, to be honest. So there's 2 types of races you can do. There's the 3-lap races, and then there's these people call them intermission courses. And in my head, I was like, "Do you mean like the 2 seconds that you play between a track? Like that's intermission, right? That's what intermission to me means." But no, what it is I think in Knockout Tour, you have you obviously have like a long stretch of track to race on, right? And there's components that are part of, I guess, a normal Grand Prix race, but then there's these sections that aren't really they're not they're not how do you call it? They're stretches that are long enough to race on, but they're not, actually part of the Grand Prix mode, if that makes sense. And they
Hmm.
people are dubbing them intermission races. I guess you could call them routes or just, I don't know, extra tracks. I don't know what you wanna call them. I will call them intermission because that's what people seem to call them, and that's what people will know. Apparently, previously, people didn't some people don't like them, right? They don't want these intermission they don't wanna play on these intermission tracks. I think because you can't really practice them if you're a hardcore verse mode time trial type of person who really wants to get the best, you know, time possible and get all the shortcuts, it's hard to practice these without doing the full, um mode. Oh god, I've lost the name of the mode. The other mode. And so what happens is in when people are playing online in versus mode, they were able to pick random and it would be very I think it was either 0 or very low chance of getting these intermission courses or tracks, and you'd get your 3-lap races that people apparently like. What Nintendo has done has lowered those chances, and I think what Nintendo is trying to do is they want people to play all of the tracks of Mario Kart World. They want you to play the 3-lap races, but they also want you to play the intermission tracks because they're part of the game. So they've lowered those chances. It's not like you can't do them anymore. It's just slightly less chance of that happening. But some people really hate this. They're review bombing, and people may not agree with that term, but I think it's review bombing when you give it a 0 on Metacritic. I think that's review bombing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
especially for because there's one thing you don't like about it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
If we at Pure Nintendo gave games zeros because there was one thing we didn't like about it, that would be 98% of our reviews would be
Yes.
would be
Yes,
zeros.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, so people are doing that. They've gone online and given it a 0 or a 1 or whatever because they don't like this update. So I guess some people think that's a way to let the company know they don't like it, which, yeah, you could say that, but I don't think it's fair to give a game 0 when it doesn't deserve it because it certainly does not deserve a 0. It's a great game. You don't have to love it, but I don't think you could give it less than a 7, really, honestly. Anyway, it's a little controversial, like I said. I know some people might not agree with that opinion, but, uh, let us know what you think, listeners, because it is something that's been kind of online recently. Yeah. I mean, I don't even play the versus mode, to be honest. I think I played it with you guys, but that was the friend version of it, which is different. Although we could choose random tracks as well. So I didn't even
Mhm.
notice, to be honest, what was being selected, and I don't really care. I just like to race. I'm not really fussed whether it's a 3-lap course or a intermission track. But mostly when I'm online, and I don't really play online that much, but I have been this week and maybe last week a little bit with Mario Kart World because I've just wanted to experience it and play with other people. But I've just been playing the Knockout Tour. I'm just loving Knockout Tour. I really prefer that. Especially online, it's just so intense. It's so intense. I've never won at one of those races, but I have come in the top 4, which is kinda cool. I was happy with
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that because if I like, if I'm gonna get 7th or 8th, yeah, I don't wanna have to race the whole time. If I'm gonna lose, just knock me out now.
Yeah.
I could go on and do something else instead of being disappointed at the end.
Exactly.
I can be
Yeah.
disappointed halfway through.
Yes, that's it, and, like, the other night, I was playing with Hayden online because you can do 2 players, and I got knocked out in the first round because, it was right near the barrier and someone hit me with something, and so I just fell back to, like, 20th position. So, just at the really wrong time, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm knocked out, so there you go." So, it happens to the best of us. Yeah, so it's a bit I don't know. I'd love to see the sales numbers for Mario Kart World. I mean, it's probably doing okay because it did come bundled with the Switch 2, but I really would love to see how that I guess when they do the next fiscal report, what the sales are like, just to see if it is a real thing or if this is just a vocal minority who are really
Yeah.
passionate. So, yeah.
Yeah, and my take on it also is that, well, first of all, I'm not a big enough fan of Mario Kart World to have an opinion. Um,
Mhm.
there are people who are really into this and want to play it a specific way, and I totally get that.
Mhm.
I'm not that guy, so everything I'm saying, is coming from the standpoint of a casual fan.
Mhm.
But my opinion on this has always been it's the same with like stories and movies where people lose their minds because the author went a direction they didn't want them to go, and so they get furious and
Mm.
attack them online. And but like the people creating the game, they get to determine how you want to play it. That's just the way it works.
Mm.
They put the time into it. They released it. They're the ones with the financial responsibility for it. If I don't understand it, I have no concept of why Nintendo would force people to play it a certain way. But if they want to, that's their decision.
Mm.
And you can get angry and you can review bomb things all you want, but in the end, that's up to them. So
Yeah. Yep, I agree. And I think some people would just were saying things like, "Oh, they should give you a choice, right? Play like a
mhm,
classic mode or a new mode, whatever you wanna call it." And I get that. I think choice is actually really good. I always am
yes,
on that side of things. I do think with online, though, it's gonna be tricky because you don't wanna segregate your online audience to have to choose between. Like, you could do it as an option, say you're in a group of people playing online and you could vote on new or classic maybe, but I
mhm,
don't think you want to go down the path of I'm playing the new version, so I'm only going to have this many people available to play with me, and then a classic mode, I'm only got this many people. I don't know. It seems segregating to me, and I feel like Nintendo just wants everyone to play together. Uh,
yes.
yeah.
I think that's exactly it. I because Nintendo, they're not unlike some of the other systems, they have never really fully embraced the competitive gaming
Mm.
um, I'm saying market, but that's not the word I'm looking for. People do it. There are Smash Brothers tournaments, there are Mario Kart tournaments,
Mm.
and I'm sure Nintendo likes that. It's fun, but their whole thing is we're not going to like have a version of this game for these really really good gamers. I'll say elite, and I say that
Mm.
not in a disparaging way. They want everyone going online to be online together and playing each other as opposed to splitting it up into here are our pro gamers and here are the casual gamers and here are the moms and dads. They just want
Mm.
everyone doing it together at the same time.
Yeah.
So to me that seems why they made the decision. If they had made it in a game where we didn't have any online competitions for this, if it wasn't considered one of the few Nintendo uh, games where people could do that again, like Smash Brothers, then the
Mhm.
outcry probably would not be as big as it is.
Yeah.
If you're in that group of people and Nintendo is taking this kind of away from you, it's like what's left because there's really not a whole lot else there you can do on the Switch for that world. But
Mm.
like I said before, that's their decision. And if they want people to see this as a family system where we can all get online and play together, then that's what they're going to do.
Yes.
Until until you review bombing enough that the sales tank, and then they'll
Yeah.
probably give in. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, I don't know what the latest score is. I probably could look it up while I'm talking. But it did drop from, I think it was 8.2 or 8.3 down to 7 point something. It was 7.8. I'm just gonna check what the latest is. 7 point this is the user score, so 7.1. So the critic score obviously hasn't been tainted this way. That's sitting on 86, but it's the user score that was sitting, I think it was around 8.2, 8.3, and now it's down to 7.1. So yeah, it's got almost 2,000 user ratings, and yeah, there's a lot of zeros. I mean, there's a lot of 789s as well, but people specifically after this update went in and zeroed it,
Yeah.
and it's
Do you
dropped.
do you think anyone out there cares what the user scores are for anything? For
No.
movies, for games? I never pay attention to them.
Not really. Like, I like to check the IMDb score, but I kind of take it with a grain of salt. Like, if it's less than 5, I'll be like, "Ooh, what's wrong with this movie?" But, if it's 5 to 9, I'll be like, "I'll probably like it." Like, it also depends on the genre and the actors and all the rest, everyone's got their own opinion, but yeah, I don't rely on it for for games as much, I don't think. Hmm.
Yeah, because yeah, for something like this, I can't ever trust, like, why is the score low? Because they don't get, they'll just either leave a score and go, or just, a couple lines. And honestly, though, it's the same with critics, especially with movies. I don't
Mm.
care if a movie gets a terrible review. If it's something I want to see, I'm going to see.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do for games or any of this is find a critic that generally agrees with you
Mhm.
and just stick with that person. Because if there's
Yes.
someone who's in line with what you're looking for, and they can kind of hone in on that, then you've got a critic that you'll be able to follow forever and continue to trust.
Yes, I love that. Hopefully, we are such critics when it comes to
Right.
games, and you can follow us
Right.
and agree with our reviews. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Kirk.
And if we're not, come right for us.
Yes, yes. Do so, please. No, I think that was a really good discussion on that whole controversial topic, so I really appreciate your your perspective, and I hope listeners found that useful as well. We would love to know your thoughts, so do let us know. But yeah, I think it's been blown a little bit out of proportion, and hopefully people can settle down and enjoy the game, basically, because that's what it's all about in the end. Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to the games we're playing this week?
Yes.
Cool. Well, I will
Yes.
start, and I'm playing.
Good. I want to point out, I'm really curious to hear what you think about this. I'm looking forward to.
Yes, I am playing Ruffy and the Riverside, which you suggested that I take this review actually because you thought it might be suitable to me. I have started playing it. I've given it maybe an hour or two so far, so a bit more to go. It's pretty interesting. I'm not sure. Okay. Initially, I was a bit like, "What is this?" It's not what I expected. I thought it was a platformer, and it is. It's a 3D. It's a 3D platformer. It's not a 2D platformer, which I must not have looked into it deeply enough to realize that. That's fine. It plays very much like, say, Banjo Kazooie, or potentially Mario 64, I guess. But to me, it feels a lot more like Banjo Kazooie um, style. It definitely has this late 90s retro feel to it in terms of the look and the gameplay, which is cool if you like that. I think it's really neat. It's very colorful, it's very bright. There's lots of cute characters to interact with. I think the style is intriguing because it is that 3D platformer, like I said, but the characters are quite flat. It's almost like Paper Mario style in a 3D world. It's kinda weird. And, like I said, at first, I was just not sure because the characters are a bit, bold, maybe, in their personalities, and they're very, I don't know, colorful characters, right? They're just I wasn't sure what to expect. So I found it a bit jarring initially, but the more I played it, the more I kind of got into it, and it does have a really cool mechanic, which is, because normally with a 3D platformer, you run, you jump, you kind of, I don't know, you might move objects if there's puzzle elements, you might jump on enemies to attack them, etc. This one has this mechanic where the protagonist, whose name is Ruffy, and he's a bear, I worked out because I was looking at the pictures going, "I don't know what this guy is." He's he's got this
So,
yeah.
I didn't know either.
Yeah.
I'm glad you,
Yeah, because 'cause he's got, like, a hood on his head. He kinda looks like an Ewok, which is bear-like, I suppose, maybe a tall Ewok. But he is a bear. I think it's the lack of a nose that puts me off, like, that's why I didn't know he was a bear, and also the hood covers his ears, I guess, but yeah, he's meant to be a bear. Um, and Ruffy he has this swapping power. So you press the R button and it kind of copies something. It could be in the environment, like wood or water or metal, even a magnet or some special boxes like a tick or a cross kind of thing or some lights. There's a few elements that you can choose from, and obviously there'll be more as you progress. And you kind of copy them into your, you know, there's a little section on the screen where you've got your copy ability temporarily, and it has a time limit, and then you can paste it somewhere. So you basically use it to solve puzzles. So you might need to make an elevator go up to a mountain to get to the top, and it's got like a circle, a square, and a triangle. You need to find the right pattern, copy it, and then paste it into the box, the elevator box, and then the elevator will go to that level based on yeah what the shape is. So it's really interesting. It really opens up a lot of potential for puzzles, and so there is a strong puzzle element to this game. um, you're kind of tasked with saving the world from this cuboid entity who's returned after being banished long ago.
100 years, 1,000 years, what did they go with this time?
I don't think they said a year, actually. I don't think they
Wow.
specifically gave a year. Yeah.
Edgy.
Yeah, I know, right? There was only one creature alive who remembered that this happened, and that was this ancient turtle. So you have to go visit the turtle, and the turtle will tell you about the time that this entity was banished and how to re-banish him. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you can run fast, you can jump, you can kind of hit enemies, but there's not a whole lot of enemies to hit so far. So it's not very violent. I'd say it's pretty kid friendly. Although the one downside I've found so far is I've been lost a few times in terms of I haven't really known what to do. There's kind of a tutorial, but I wouldn't say it's very good to me. It just seems to be a bit like, "What am I doing? I don't really get it." I worked it out, it's fine. But now that I'm into the swing of things, it's pretty cool, and there's a map that shows you where to go, and you have to traverse these areas. Looks like there's a snowland coming up where I'm about to enter, but there's like a beach and a forest and all that sort of thing, mountains and whatnot. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Definitely something different. I think this stands out because it's not going to be like Donkey Kong Bonanza, for example. It's just got this really unique look and style and gameplay. So from that perspective, it's pretty neat. So yeah, I'll be reviewing this one, so I'll write up my review and give you my full thoughts. But yeah, sort of a mixed bag, but mostly very positive, I'd say. So yeah, interesting.
Yep.
Hmm.
Does it do a good job? Well, I shouldn't say good job. Does it take the approach of like the puzzles that you have to do? Are there action elements going on at the same time, or does it kind of separate the action from the puzzle solving?
Yeah, so far it's definitely separate.
Okay.
So you can just solve the puzzle your own way, and they're pretty satisfying to solve. I don't want to give spoilers, I guess, but there was one, like I mentioned, you can copy a magnet, and I found that quite intriguing because I didn't. It took me maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I had no idea how to solve this puzzle because there's a magnet and you can copy it, and I put it where I thought it needed to go, but it didn't do anything, and so I had to kind of work out what else I could do to make make the magnet work. You needed to kind of pull these metal boxes to open a door kind of thing. And when I worked that out, it was pretty neat. But yeah, there's no enemies around to distract me. I've only had one enemy. I think there are boss fights apparently. I just haven't got to them yet. I'm sort of in this I've just opened up what I think is like kind of level 1, if you want to call it that. So the whole thing I've been doing is more or less an introduction. You kind of like the world is, being ravaged by this entity, like I said, but you have to prove yourself as the chosen one by doing this task first, and then they open the portal to what I think is more or less gonna be level 1, and you have to I think there's, like, 6 well, it's the letters in Riverside. That's more than 6, though. I'm pretty sure they said 6 letters, but anyway, I think you have to get 6 letters and collect them from whatever, bosses, I suppose. So that's what my next mission is. So, yeah. But yeah, it's fun. It's definitely fun. I was playing it on the Switch 2, which I was thinking I probably should have played on the Switch 1 to see how the performance was. But yeah, it seems to be fine on the Switch 2. There's a few little, not glitches, but just you'll notice a kind of is it a frame rate drop? Where I'll go around a corner and it'll just, it just would
Oh, yeah, kinda stutter as the camera
stutters.
pulls around the corner with you. Yeah.
Yeah, just like for a second. Um, it's not really that bad. It's just it's occasional that I've noticed, but I would be curious. Maybe I'll transfer it to the Switch 1 and just give it a go and see if it's noticeable on the Switch 1, but yeah, pretty cool. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'll give you an update next week. Well, I'll review it and you can, yeah, read my full thoughts when that's ready. But yes, what are you playing at the moment, Kirk?
The first game I'm going to talk about is a game I just started playing recently. It's another release from Flynn's Arcade.
Oh,
I mentioned
cool.
them before.
Yeah.
Yep, they're the ones who will publish games that feel like video games you would have played back in the 80s or such,
Mm.
but they weren't. They're developed as if they were games that you would have played back then. And I love that approach. And this game is Flora and Fang, Guardians of the Vampire Garden.
I love the name.
Yes, yeah, it's a good name. There are 2 players. You could do single player or you can have 2 people at once. And I know there have been arcade games like this. I'm sure this gameplay has been on other systems. The one that it goes back to for me, once again, is on the Intellivision. There was a game called Buzz Bombers where you were at the bottom of the screen. It was kind of like Space Invaders, except instead of having a little ship or a gun, you had an aerosol can, and there would be insects coming down at you, and you had to spray them.
Ah, uh-huh.
That's the basic approach here, except in that game, you were just kind of like on, again, like Space Invaders sliding back and forth across the bottom. This one has levels to it that you could jump up to, kind of like the early Mario games or, many other
Mm.
games like that.
Mhm.
What's happening is there's a vampire who left Flora and Fang in charge of protecting the forests and other areas. And there are insects and ghosts and all kinds of things that are coming down and trying to steal the vegetables.
Right.
So you need to spray them basically to take them out. But spraying them isn't enough. They come down like you have to hit them around 3 times and then bump into them. They will go away. Sometimes they'll become coins. You can collect the coins that you want to improve your score. But if you're running around collecting coins, then the other insects and such coming down will be able to take away your vegetables or your coins. They could take those too and float away with them. So yeah, that's really it so far. Just basic arcade action. You're jumping around, you're hopping, and you're spraying these insects. It's not an aerosol can this time because, well, maybe it is. I don't know if they even define it. Those are bad for the environment, right? Do they even use them anymore? Too
Um,
many
I don't know, I haven't.
CFCs? Is that too many carbonated fluorocarbons?
Probably, but I
Did I get
still
that
s
right?
I still spray roaches. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah. Am I supposed to be
got
doing
to do that.
it? Yeah.
Make sure when you do that, don't make the mistake I did, where you're spraying a roach and you think you've killed it, but you accidentally grabbed the pledge
What's
for dusting. So all
oh.
you've done is make the cockroach shiny as he goes back home.
Yes.
Um,
Well, in the screenshot, it's got this little letters next to the whatever they're holding. It says, like it looks like PSHH, like, psh.
oh yeah, yeah, that sure, yeah.
Which is
That's I don't know that we kind of have that sound effect, so I don't know why they felt the need to write that out, but I like that they did.
yeah. Hmm, that's cool.
Um,
There's a
yeah,
screenshot here that has, like, a very pixelated version of the
yes,
yeah?
yeah. I haven't made it there yet, so I'll find out what. Yeah, because that one sort of looks like Space Invaders, like a
Mm,
colorized version of Space Invaders
yeah.
versus the more I don't want to say modern, the more textured look, the
Mhm.
more detailed the thing that we get to. Um, so yeah, the action is fun. You're jumping around. You can fall to your death if you're not careful. You can move like when you can move the pumpkins if they're up too high. You can grab them and take them down lower.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, there's a little bit of strategy going on here. The one thing I want to definitely do, and of course I will before I write the review, is play it with two player.
Mm.
I've only done it by myself so far, and I'll be curious to see. It's hard.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see if playing with two people makes it easier, or if the developers accounted for that, and if you have two people coming, then they have more
Yeah.
enemies
Mhm.
to eliminate. So we'll see. But so far, I will say it's right in. If you're a fan of Flynn's Arcade and the games that they've released, for over the past. How long has it been? I think I've been reviewing their games maybe for 3 years now, three,
Mm.
4 years.
Yeah.
Um, there's no reason you wouldn't like this. It's another arcade cabinet in the arcade, and it's hop on over and give it a try.
Yeah, it looks really neat. I was gonna ask, about the pumpkin moving, which you've kinda answered, but can the insects take so when they take the pumpkins, if you spray the insect, will they drop the pumpkin?
Yes.
Okay, and then you could move it again if you needed to.
Yeah. And another thing I like about it is you don't have to necessarily be under the enemies when you're attacking them. If you're beside them, the spray can that you're using kind of also puffs out a little bit to the side. So you
Ah,
are able to save yourself if you're there at the last second, the last level, and you can't get any lower. You're still able to take care of
okay.
them.
Because yeah, I was gonna ask, can you change the direction of the spray, but is it more or less up with a bit to the side?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. It's up, perfect, up with a bit to the side.
Cool. That sounds really fun. I like the look of it. Yeah, that sounds neat. Hmm. Looking forward to your review. Yeah, I think the two-player thing would be interesting to see if it makes it easier or if they, yeah, ramp up the challenge a bit more. Because I I mean, I was thinking, yeah, with only one player, that seems difficult. So
Yeah, it's of course like all arcade games, and they maybe they do this on purpose. You play the first show, you're like, "Oh man, this is easy." Although the weird thing was, the first time I did it, I got a D, and I thought I did a really good job of
Mhm.
taking care of those insects. The second time, I started paying more attention to collecting coins, especially at
Mm.
the end. You open like a treasure chest, and they all come out, and I just stood there. But you can run around and collect those quickly too. So, having done that and I got an S, I went back and did the first
Ah,
level again
there you go.
and did much better.
Yeah, and I wonder with 2 people if you can have one on more coin duty and one on protection duty or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely, will be a good strategy to take.
Interesting. Very nice. Excellent. Thank you. Anything else that you're playing that you wanna discuss?
Yes, real quickly, I mentioned last week I was going to, dive into Nobunaga's Ambition: Awakening
Mm.
Complete Edition.
Yes. How'd that go?
Well, as we knew, because again, we played Nobunaga's Ambition: Awakening and reviewed it here. I didn't, Bill Steidler did it. It's a very difficult game. It's not a game you just start playing.
Mm.
It's a game that begs for an instruction manual printed in front of you. I didn't even think of it. I should look to see if there's something online. There's so much to do, so much detail,
Mm.
menu after menu after menu to wrap your head around and use. And I've never liked playing these kind of games on consoles because the controls have been awful.
Mhm.
On the Switch 2, it comes with mouse control, and it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful,
Cool.
because it's not the kind of game where you're quickly. We talked about the driving game, the basketball game that they're releasing soon,
Mhm.
where you've got to move quickly. You're going to be slamming the controls down,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
Joy-Con
Drag X
down.
Drive, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Um, this is just a calm mouse select, open window, do what you want to do kind of thing. The Joy-Con are great for that. You pick them back up when you don't want to use them, and use them the standard way. What I've done is I have like a little a TV tray that we get out when we have guests, so people can sit and well, you know what TV trays are like.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Now they're for me to use mouse controls on my Switch too.
Oh, nice.
Um, put it in front of the chair, and then I just use that, and then when I don't need it, I lean back in the chair and do it that way. So the game's still hard, but it's really, I can finally play one of these style real-time strategy games
Mhm.
on a console, with some of the comfort. I still don't have the keyboard. I like having a keyboard with a lot of
Mm.
different things that I can easily get to.
Yeah.
But boy, having mouse controls on a game like this really changes it so much. So I'll dig into it, as deep as I can, and then write
Yeah.
a review. But yeah, as I mentioned, when I saw mouse controls, this is the kind of game that popped into my mind, and they've nailed it. They did a really good job,
Oh,
and
that's good to hear. Hmm.
I think fans of these games are going to be thrilled.
Excellent. I love that. That's really good. I wasn't sure which way that would go when you when you brought that up. I'm like, could go either way here, but I'm glad it
Yeah.
went in the positive way, positive direction. Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yep.
really cool. Um, that was a launch title, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Mm. Cool. Yeah, I'd love to see, yeah, definitely looking forward to your final thoughts. I wonder if anyone, like any of our listeners have played it, would let us know. I haven't really heard anything about it apart from the developer interview they did before it launched or around the launch where they showed off the mouse controls.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and they seem really passionate, and I love that, of course. I love when the devs get involved and talk about the game, and it looks really neat and exciting, and they make you kind of feel the passion that they feel. So, but, until you try it yourself, you can't really tell if it's going to work, so I'm glad it has, yeah. I wonder if it will be the
Yeah.
game changer, like, as in the mouse. We've talked about this before, and I think one of your concerns for the Switch 2, in terms of the mouse controls at least, was that it might just be a gimmick that isn't used properly or ongoing. Like, we've seen it a couple of times, like this game, I said Hogwarts Legacy uses it and a few others, but will it continue to get support, or will it just kind of fall by the wayside and not be a thing in a year or two? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Ideally, what'll happen is developers will quit kind of like forcing it in or coming up with
Mm.
gimmicky ways to take advantage of it in their games. Whereas, developers like Koei Tecmo here with Nobunaga's Ambition know that this kind of control is just the best way to do it and make sure that it's available and, fine tuned so that it still works within the confines of a console, like I mentioned, as opposed to when you're playing on a PC.
Yeah, like, it's not just a port, is it? It's not like they've just slapped it together and thrown in some mouse controls. They've actually thought about it and made it work properly, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because you're still otherwise using a like Joy-Con or the game controller for
Mm,
most of the or for other components of the game.
yeah. We'll do a comparison when your review comes out. We can compare it with the original and see the difference. Mm.
Yep. That'll be good. Yeah, because yeah, Bill was not fond, and Bill is big into these kind of games. He took this thing, because this is what he enjoys,
Mm,
and wasn't able to get into it because of that. So
yeah, that's disappointing. Anyway,
yeah.
cool. Thank you. Anything
Mhm.
else you'd like to add before we close things off for the week?
Nope, think I'm good.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me again this week. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know your thoughts. Let us give us a comment. We'd love to read your comments. We are also on social media. If you'd like to follow us, you can head on over to Blue Sky and follow us there. We have our Pure Nintendo website, of course, purenintendo.com. And if you'd like to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo, and you'll get yourself a physical copy of our next edition of the Pure Nintendo magazine, which is in production right now. So stay tuned for that one. But as always, thank you. And until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.